The Record of Bdlh Hrdsft. The years at the spring and the days at the dawn, mornings at 7, the hillsides dew pearled, the larks on the wing, the snails on the thorn, God's in his heaven, all's right with the world. Pippa passes. This is not Bdlh, whose spare names were Joanna, Pugnacious, and Macanna, as the song says, but another and a much nicer lady. In the beginning of things she had been unregenerate, and had worn the heavy fluffy fringe which is the ornament of the costmonger's girl, and there is a legend in Gunson Street that on her wedding day she, a flare lamp in either hand, danced dances on the discarded lover's winkle barrow till a policeman interfered, and then Bdlh danced with the law amid the shouting. Those were her days of fatness, and they did not last long, for her husband, after 2 years, took to himself another woman, and passed out of Bdlh's life, over Bdlh's senseless body, for he stifled protests with blows. While she was enjoying her widowhood, the baby that the husband had not taken away died of croup, and Bdlh was altogether alone. With rare fidelity, she listened to no proposals for a second marriage according to the customs of Gunson Street, which do not differ from those of the Barrowlong. My man, she explained to her suitors, he'll come back one of these days, and then, like as not, he'll take and kill me if I was living long o' you. You don't know Tom, I do. Now you go. I can do for myself, not having a kid. She did for herself with a mangle, sometimes tending of babies, and on occasion sale of flowers. This latter trade is one that needs capital, and takes the vendor very far westward, insomuch that the return journey from, let us say, the Burlington Arcade to Gunson Street, is an excuse for drink. And then, as Bdlh pointed out, you come home with your shawl off your back, and your bonnet under your arm, and the price of nothing at all in your pocket, let alone a slop taking care of you. Bdlh did not drink, but she knew her sisterhood, and gave them rude counsel. Otherwise she kept herself to herself, and meditated a great deal upon Tom Hrdsft, her husband, who would never come back some day, and the baby who would never return. In what manner these thoughts wrought upon her mind will not be known. Her entry into society dates from the night when she rose literally under the feet of the Reverend Eustace Hannah on the landing of No. 17 Gunson Street, and told him that he was a fool without discernment in the dispensation of his district charities. "You give Lascar Lou custards," she said, without the formality of introduction. "Give her pork wine, garn. Give her blankets, guard home. Her mother, she eats 'em all, and drinks the blankets. Get him back from the shop, she does, before you come visiting again, so as to have 'em all handy and proper. And Lascar Lou, she says to you, 'Oh, my mother, that's good to me,' she says. She do. Lascar Lou had better talk so, being sick abed, else your mother would kill her. Garn, you're bloomin' gardener, and you and your custards. Lascar Lou, don't never mind the smell of 'em even." Thereupon the curate, instead of being offended, recognized in the heavy eyes under the fringe of the soul of a fellow worker, and so bade Bdlh mount guard over Lascar Lou, when the next jelly or custard should arrive, to see that the invalid actually ate it. This Bdlh did, to the disgust of Lascar Lou's mother, and the sharing of black eyes between the three, but the Lascar Lou got her custard, and coughing heartily, rather enjoyed the fray. Later on, partly through the Reverend Eustace Hannah's swift recognition of her uses, and partly through the certain tales poured out with moist eyes and flushed cheeks by Sister Eva, youngest and most impressionable of the little sisters of the Red Diamond, it came to pass that Bdlh, arrogant, fully fringed, and perfectly unlicensed in speech, won a recognized place among such as labor in Gunson Street. These were a mixed corps, zealous or hysterical, faint-hearted, or only very wearied of the battle against misery, according to their lights. The most part were consumed with small rivalries and personal jealousies, to be retailed confidently to their own tiny cliques in the pauses between wrestling with death for the body of a moribund laundress, or scheming for further mission grants to resole a consumptive compositor's very consumptive boots. There was a rector that lived in dread of pauperizing the poor, would fain have held bazaars for fresh altar-cloths, and prayed in secret for a large new brass bird, with eyes of red glass, fondly believed to be carbuncles. There was Brother Victor, of the order of little Ease, who knew a great deal about altar-cloths, but kept his knowledge in the background while he strove to propitiate Mrs. Jessel, the secretary of the Teacup Board, who had money to dispense, but hated Rome, even though Rome would, on its honor, do no more than fill the stomach, leaving the dazed soul to the mercies of Mrs. Jessel. There were all the little sisters of the Red Diamond, daughters of the horse-leech, crying, "Give!" when their own charity was exhausted, and pitifully explaining to such a demand an account of their disbursements in return for 1/2 sovereign, that relief work in a bad district can hardly be systematized on this account size without expensive duplication of staff. There was the Reverend Eustace Hanna, who worked impartially with ladies' committees, androgynous leagues, and guilds. Brother Victor, and anybody else who could give him money, boots, or blankets, or that more precious help that allows itself to be directed by those who know. And all those people learned, one by one, to consult Bdlh on matters of personal character, right to relief, and hope of eventual reformation in Gunston Street. Her answers were seldom cheering, but she possessed special knowledge and complete confidence in herself. "I'm Gunston Street," she said to the austere Mrs. Jessel. "I know what's what, I do, and they don't want your religion, mum, not a single. Excuse me. It's all right when they comes to die, mum, but till they die, what they want is things to eat. The men they'll shift for themselves. That's why Nick Lapworth says to you that he wants to be confirmed and all that. He wouldn't never lead no new life, nor his wife won't get no good out of it, or the money you gives him, no more than you can pauperize them, and as they asn't things to begin with. They're bloomin' well popped. The women can't shift for themselves, especially being always confined. How should they? They wants things if they can get them. Anyways, if not, they dies, and a good job too, for women is cruel put upon in Gunston Street." "Do you believe that Miss Hrdsft is altogether a proper person to trust funds to?" said Miss Jessel to the curate after this conversation. "She seems to be utterly godless in her speech, at least." The curate agreed. She was godless according to Miss Jessel's views, but did not Mrs. Jessel think that since Bdlh knew Gunston Street and its needs as none others knew it, she might in a humble way be, as it were, the scullion of charity from purer sources, and that if, say, the Teacup Board could give a few shillings a week, and the little sisters of the Red Diamond a few more, and yes, he himself could raise yet a few more, the total, not at all likely to be excessive, might be handed over to Bdlh to dispense among her associates. Thus Miss Jessel herself would be set free to attend more directly to the spiritual wants of certain large-limbed, hulking men who sat picturesquely on lower benches of her gatherings, and sought for truth, which is quite as precious as silver when you know the market for it. "She'll favour her own friends," said Mrs. Jessel. The curate refrained from mirth, and, after wise flattery, carried his point. To her unbounded pride, Bdlh was appointed the dispenser of a grant, a weekly trust to be held for the benefit of the Gunston Street. "Don't know what we can get together each week," said the curate to her. "But here are 17 shillings to start with. You do what you like with them among your people. Only let me know how it goes so that we shan't get muddled in the accounts. Do you see?" "Oh, yes. 'Tain't much thought, is it?" said Bdlh, regarding the white coins in her palm. The sacred fever of the administrator, only known to those who have tasted power, burned in her veins. Boots is boots, unless they're give 'em you, and they ain't fit to wear unless they're mended up top and bottom, and jellies is jellies, and I don't think anything of that sheep pork wine, but it all comes to something. It'll go quicker than a quarter of a gin, 17 bob, and I'll keep book, same as I used to before Tom went and took up along the pan went before Tom went and took up long that pan-faced slut in Hennessy's rents. We was the only bar that kept regular books. Meanin' him. She bought a large copybook. Her unschooled hand writing demanded room, and in it she wrote the story of her war, boldly as it benefits a general, and for no other eyes than her own and those of the Reverend Eustace Hannah. Long ere the pages were full, the mottled cover had been soaked in kerosene. Lascaux's mother, defrauded of her percentage on her daughter's custards, invaded Bdlh's room in 17th Gunson Street, and fought with her to the damage of a lamp and her own hair. It was hard, too, to carry the precious pork wine in one hand and the book in the other, though through an eternally thirsty land, so red stains were added to those of the oil. But the Reverend Eustace Hannah, looking at the matter of the book, never objected. The generous scrawls told their own tale, Bdlh every Saturday night supplying the chorus between the written statements thusly. Miss Hickey is very ill, brandy, 3D cab for hospital. She had to go, 1 shilling. Miss Poon confined. In money for tea, she took it, I knew, sir. 6D. Her D is. Met her husband out looking for work. I slapped his face for a bound idle beggar. He won't get no work because he's... Excuse me, sir. Won't you go on? The curate continued. Mrs. Vincent confined. No lining for the baby. Most untidy. In money, 2 sterling, 2 shillings, 6 dimes, dementors. Some cloths from Miss Eva. Did Sister Eva do that? Said the curate very softly. Now charity was Sister Eva's bounden duty, yet to one man's eyes each act of her daily toil was a manifestation of angelic grace and goodness, a thing to be perpetually admired. Yes, sir, she went back to the sister's home and took him off her own bed. Most beautiful marked, too. Go on, sir. That makes 4 and 3pence. Miss Junette had to keep good fire coals up. 6D. Miss Lockhart took a baby to nurse to earn a trifle, but mother can't pay husband summons over and over. He won't help. Cash 2 sterling 2D. Worked in the kitchen, but had to leave. Fire, tea, and shin of beef 1 sterling 7.5D. There was a fight there, sir, said Bdlh. Not me, sir. Your husband, of course, he come in at the wrong time, was wishful to have beef, so I called up to the next floor, and downstairs comes the mullater man, won't sells the sword sticks, canes, and top of Ludgate. Mully, says I, you big black beast, you take and kill this big white beast here. I knew that I couldn't stop Tom Lockhart half drunk, and with beef in his hands. I'll beef him, says Mully, and he did it, with that poor woman a-crying in the next room, and top banisters on the landing is broke out. But she got her beef tea, and Tom got his gruel. Will you go on, sir? No, I think I'll be all right. I'll sign for the week, said the curate. One gets so used to these things, profanely called human documents. Miss Turner's baby got diphtheria, said Bdlh, turning to go. Where's that? The Churners of Paint Alley, or the other Churners of Houghton Street. Houghton Street. The Painters' Alley people, they sold out and left. Sister Eva's sitting one night a week with old Miss Probby in Houghton Street, isn't she? Said the curate uneasily. Yes, but she won't sit no longer. I've took up Miss Probby. I can't talk no religion to her, but she don't want it. And Miss Eva, she don't want no diphthery, though she says she does. but you be afraid for Miss Eva. But you'll not get it, perhaps. Like as not. She looked at the curate between the eyes, and her own eyes flamed under the fringe. Maybe I'll like to get it, for aught you know. The curate thought upon these words for a little time, till he began to think of Sister Eva in the grey cloak, with the white bonnet ribbons under the chin. Then he thought no more of Bdlh. What Bdlh thought was never expressed in words, but is known in Gunson Street that Laskerlew's mother, sitting blind drunk on her doorstep, was that night captured and wrapped up in the war cloud of Bdlh's wrath, so that she did not know whether she stood on her head or heels, and after being soundly bumped on every particular stair up to her room, was set down on Bdlh's bed, there to whimper and quiver till dawn, protesting that all the world was against her, and calling on the names of her children long since slain by dirt and neglect. Bdlh, snorting, went out to war, and since the hosts of the enemy were many, found enough work to keep her busy till dawn. As she had promised, she took Miss Probyn into her own care, and began by nearly startling the old lady into a fit with the announcement that there ain't no God like as not, and if there is, it don't matter to you nor me, and anyhow you take this jelly. Sister Eva objected to being shut off from her pious work in Houghton Street, but Bdlh insisted, and by fair words and the promise of favours to come, so prevailed on 3 or 4 of the more sober men of the neighbourhood, that they blockaded the door whenever Sister Eva attempted to force an entry, and pleaded with the diphtheria as an excuse. I've got to keep her out of harm's way, said Bdlh, and out she keeps. The curate won't care for me, but he wouldn't anyhow.